Hello, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you are watching this. I know it's been a while, it's been a hot, ugly minute. But anyways, those of you who are here, thank you for watching. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, my name is Umbu Knight, and I bring to you today another artwork of a character for a webtoons comic I'm working on called Fighter for Hire for Honor. Fighter for Honor. Good gracious, I gotta really recreate the name. Anyway, case, this is one of the main characters. His name is Fang. Simple, short, to the point, simple enough. And I'll be talking a little bit more about him actually. Give his story depth of tropes and ideas. He's not fully established in design yet, but I have a current design that I've been messing with. You will see later throughout the video. Anyways, continuing forward, Fang is a bounty hunter. Simple enough. Nothing too crazy, nothing too intense. He's a bounty hunter that travels the world, and he mostly works alone. But in the story his main story, the story that we'll be following once the comic is up and ready, he gets involved in a tournament. Gets involved in a big fighters tournament, so to speak. In a world setting, it's both magic and non-magic, right? Fang is pure non-magical, no magical what to speak of. He's just a pure fisticuffs fighter. He's a martial artist, and he gets involved in it. Gets involved in this tournament, but as he gets involved in it, it's mostly due to get someone off his back. He meets the character that brought him in there. I'm going to draw him later down the line. Like, I'm working on his design offhand. Still debating on his aspects. But continuing forward with Fang here, I didn't want to just make a regular human character, It's a fantasy setting. And this fantasy setting, it has a mix of human characters, non-human characters, etc., etc. For a better, I guess you can say visual representation until I draw out the details and show everyone. You can use almost, not all of it, but almost some design aspects and ideas, plus the name of the races, to be exact, for the fantasy setting, from the tabletop game Dagger Heart. Not sponsored, just a fan who loves the game. Who loves the tabletop game. I really do. Little backstory. Dagger Heart was made by Critical Role. Those of you who know. Those of you who don't know, online D&D as a group. They're pretty much the guys who help ignite the trend of YouTube D&D groups, or bring into light D&D groups who DM over YouTube and so on and so forth. Nevertheless, Critical Role built the game rules for Dagger Heart. Dagger Heart is a tabletop RPG. And yeah, continuing on from that explanation, this character, Fang, he is what they call a Kentari. Don't ask me to spell it, I'm not going to spell it. I'd rather you look up the Dagger Heart rulebook, or just Dagger Heart. Dagger Heart. I have a lisp and trouble speaking, so forgive me if you're hearing words and it doesn't make sense. Anyhow, case, plain and simple, Katari are cat folk, or cat people. And in this case, with that notion of design elements of the races themselves, it kind of kept me grounded. So this particular character, Fang, I gave him the tiger ears and the tiger tail. I didn't color it in at the end of the artwork, but that's what he has. However, every time I think about his design, his costume, his outfit, I'm reminded of the fact that he also fights with a weapon. And the weapon here, through the model's reference pose, it's a shield. I really like the idea of Captain America shield fighter, but I didn't want him to throw, in theory and concept wise, I don't want him to throw the shield around, you know? So I'm still looking up references to figure it out, you know, to enhance it. But the way he fights with the shield is very along the lines of shield fighting concepts or moves I've seen from people reenacting as Vikings from LARP, movies, so on and so forth, or TV shows, where they're using the shield's brim, everything of the shield to be the actual quote unquote weapon. And I'm still debating on the shield because at the same time, part of its design came from a few anime characters I've seen from a few gacha games. One particular, I think, is Genshin Impact. I don't know the character's name. I just seen artwork through him on Pinterest, online stuff. But this is Tiger character kid who I think is supposed to be fighting with the head of the lion dancers, the Chinese dancers, something like that. Again, I don't know the details. I'm very ignorant on those details for the moment, but I will clarify my own information with myself as I continue down the line. But continuing forward with Fang's fighting style, I want to make him very offensive as much as he is technically defensive, you know, because again, he uses the shield. He does have two swords. I'm debating on what type of swords to give him, but he doesn't use the swords as much. It's very along the lines that he uses the shield as his offhand and his defense. Not offhand. His offensive and defense. Like he's very much as a skilled hand-to-hand fighter, and as he's both offensive and defensive, I'm still debating on what fighting styles to give him because I don't want to just give him kung fu fighting styles, you know, which would be very general to use, right? It'd be very simple enough to use, right? Maybe, but not for me. I'm putting myself through hell on determining what style to give him, and I have come to the well. I want to give him something that's new, something that you don't see a lot of people use. HEMA, historical medieval martial arts, right? Now that's gonna be tough because again, a lot of that stuff is not practice. Scholar Grimm, a YouTube channel, will talk more about it, and a bunch of other historian, quote unquote, sword enthusiasts and actual historian channels. I just forget the names of. My bad. But continuing forward, using HEMA as a baseline reference of what styles to give him. Because as I was creating the quote unquote fighting style for Fang, I was also debating on how do I incorporate this type of quote unquote style, fighting style, to essentially a comic situation, you know? Then I said to myself, it's actually not too complicated. It's just when I put it out, when I actually draw out the fight scenes, draw him fighting with said style references and formats, not formats, but it's the forms of said historical styles. I have to make sure that I don't lose the sauce of it, you know? Because again, growing up watching a lot of action films, there was so much I loved and so much that nowadays I come to realize going, huh, it's not that it was bad per se, it's just I didn't know any better and I was very ignorant to certain ideas that I thought were this and that. But then again, when you're kids, you don't know any better. And so, with that being said, I, over the years, made sure that whatever I'm going to do, I don't do just 100%. I go 110%, 120%. And working on the idea for this character alone, I've been going 120. So far, his design is kept consistent. He has a shield. He mostly wears some type of robe, cloak, maybe like a kimono-ish design. Uh, has He's mostly cloth underneath it. Maybe thick gabardine in certain areas. And of course, he's a cat dude, but not really a cat because again, he's a tiger guy. I'm not going to continue that train of thoughts because I keep correcting myself. Moving forward. uh, Moving forward with this Fang story here, it's also pretty tough because when I think about this character, I think about the fights I'm going to toss him in there. Again, part of the whole deal for this comic and for this story is that I want to do, well, let me rephrase. The whole big thing that I'm pushing myself with for this story, for this comic, webtoons comic. It's gonna be on webtoons. Once the first chapter is posted, I will post a link of it onto my YouTube. Right now, I have nothing to show. I'm just letting you know. For this story, for Fang's story, I for Fang's story, I want to do more show, not tell. Which is difficult to do for any aspect of artistry. Like animation. That's always the toughest thing to do. Show, not tell, because half the time, depending on the animation, and that's using animation alone. Half the time, using the animation, if you exclude budgets or ideas getting tossed around and not being respected enough, showing on this and that, showing how a character interacts, how a character moves, or the setting itself, on how it's integrated to the story, that's always, from what I've seen. And honestly, I'm an amateur enthusiast for animation, but I can definitely say this for the fact that it's hard to show what you want to show. Only a rare few people I can say that I think have done a great job at showing and not just telling. Uh, Gendry Tarkovsky, I forget how you say his last name, but Gendry is the dude who's made Samurai Jack, who's made Primal, Symbiotic Titan. What's the other one? Oh, there was another show that he did, another cartoon like show on HBO. Just before doing Primal's first season, I forgot the name of it, but some like fantasy magic unicorn thing. I forgot the name, but he does a lot of show. Like if you've seen Primal, you know Primal, the caveman story. Just look at that shit. Hardly any dialogue. No dialogue. Just showing the character's emotions, visual story. That is the truest, honest form of show, not tell. Primal. Look that up if you've never seen it. Just watch one episode. And you'll be amazed. And that's what I want to do. And it's going to be tough. Because just reading from comics I've grown up with, mangas I've grown up with, it's hard, to do that, period. And I'm learning that myself as I'm drawing out the storyboard for the comic. I'm using storyboard to help with the comic design and future animations if I ever get to it. Point still remains, it's hard to show, because, well, it's hard. I can give you 200 explanations, but again, it all comes back to that if you don't figure out the formula of how to just rely on the audience to analyze, comprehend what they're seeing, what they're looking at, then you failed, in my personal opinion. And again, I'm not a professional. I'm an amateur at all this. Okay, I'm a big amateur. I'm just an enthusiast who decided to say, fuck it, I try it. And that's what's going on. Oh, and I'm worried in every aspect, in failing in certain aspects, you know. But I think that's also the fun for me. I'm pushing myself to do this because I've been wanting to do it for years, and I'm finally just said to myself. I finally just said, no, that I didn't say anything. I just told myself, shut up, don't say anything, just do it, and I'm doing it. It's taking me a lot longer in most cases. I'm not gonna lie about that. Uh, by the end of this video, I'm still questioning on his design elements. Fang's designs of his shield, the hair, even the robe, and let alone any extra detail armaments. If you see my last video of Fang, I showed his whole little character design sheet, essentially his concept sheet, and that's only first draft. Gotta make another one because I don't even like what I was designing on that. I posted a link to the video. Again, it's right before this one. Anyways, I'm still not liking certain aspects of his design. I'm liking what I see. I'm not only what I see in my head, but again, when you see stuff in your head, you like it. But when you actually put it out, it comes down to the question of, did I do something wrong, or like, what did I do wrong? In this case, besides the pose being messed up in areas, which it is, I don't like the way I drew his robe. The shield, I'm just having shit luck. Like, that shield doesn't make sense. But at the same time, fuck it. I might just have his shield being more organic, you know? But then again, that breaks his character. He's a physical fighter. No magic. None of that bullshit. Pure physical. He's nothing but brawn. He's not an idiot, but he's nothing but brawn compared to the magic. And that's another aspect of his design. Even though he doesn't do magic, he wears very fantastical looking clothes, but yet the clothes in this universe, in this setting, it's very much along the lines that as mundane as they call it, the high fantasy element is in there. Part of the high fantasy element of the clothing of these designs range from the clothes actually being made of tougher material, clothes being made from magic sequences, not sequences, but like magic types. No, magic types. Fuck it. The clothes can be made through magical means or non-magical means. His clothes, I haven't decided if they're magical means or non-magical means, but I also have quote unquote fantastical elements that are not magical. They're just extra elements. Like, I forgot what the joke was from the Avatar movie. The Avatar, the Blue People Avatar. There's a term for something that's used to help move the story forward. Not a MacGuffin. I forgot what the other term is, but it's just a random thing that doesn't make any sense or something like that. But yeah, that's what they're after in the first movie. This rare mineral, right? But again, the term is a play on words that it's just fake bullshit. Something of that ilk. And yeah, that's the fantastic elements of the clothing idea of the materials. That as mundane as they are, they're not so mundane. In any case, so this is coming into the video, and honestly, as much as I don't like him, his design at the moment, I will admit, this wasn't a bad starting ground to try other things too. It was quite something. Thank you for watching. Hope you like it. See you in the next one. Bye.